All right, everyone. Yesterday, Kim Jong Un came out on state TV and the DPRK and was talking about wanting more nuclear weapons. This is they sell artillery and shells and shit to the Russians. Quite clearly, things have heated up. Then you have long-range U.S. missiles being deployed to Ukraine. So the situation is definitely getting dicey. Kim Jong Un, though, I wanted to tell people, is not a madman. He is not insane, and his foreign policy, and to an extent domestic policy, actually make sense. One thing that people in post-industrial nations often get wrong is they assume that the leaders of foreign states that are outside of the Western sphere are led by people who are either insane or completely delusional. The idea is that in the DPRK, Kim Jong Un was born under a rainbow, in a cave with a unicorn and weird shit like that. If you think that Kim Jong Un or the party higher-ups actually believe in any of that bullshit, then it's not them that's being delusional. Unfortunately, it's you. The fact is that even the lay people in North Korea violate the rules and taboos on a regular basis, and they smuggle in DVDs and weird shit like that, and they're well aware of the fact that there's a world outside. They are not a non-state actor. They are not an insane actor. The idea of anyone that your nation doesn't like being crazy is a time-tested propaganda strategy. No, look no further than Vlad the Impaler, actually. Half of the weird accounts that we get of him come from German chroniclers that chronically hated the man. The idea that he was driven insane in captivity in Hungary and routinely impaled small animals, birds, and insects and kept them as trophies is probably not actually true. And other than on at least one occasion where he was clearly attempting to spite some Polish nobles, actually, and frighten them, doesn't appear that he regularly drank blood. I believe he did that once for show, just to show, hey, I don't give a fuck anymore, so, stay on my good side. I think that what they're doing is quite clear. And it's actually a shrewd move. Kim Jong Un is now aware of the fact that the next president of the United States is not going to be a geriatric vegetable, but rather someone who went toe-to-toe with him before, and he did it with finesse. So what this represents is the big ask. Hey, I'm going to build more nukes. Oh, well, okay, well, let's talk about it. What's probably going to happen already happened in Trump's first term, by the way. A lot of people have forgotten this. Do you remember when Kim Jong Un came out and started throwing threats around? And Donald Trump responded by saying, well, I have a little red button on my desk too. It's a lot bigger and it actually works. That was, I believe, an explicit quote. The reason that he did that is that in East Asian cultures, if you are, do not give insult to others, but if you are offered insult, you must respond in kind. It's sort of like ritualistic in nature. Trump gets this. He's done business in China, he's done business in Japan, he's done business in Korea, the Philippines, etc. He understands this. The problem with many Western leaders is that they haven't. They'll go over there, they're not going to go to the DPRK, certainly. They'll go to Tokyo for a couple of days and they think they know everything about Nippon. That's not exactly how it works. They're completely clueless. Joe Biden knows how to wine and dine people at Martha's Vineyard. He knows how to party hardy with Macron over in France. He likes a cup of tea with the Queen and stuff like that. But he doesn't get anything about these other cultures. He's never really interacted with them. What Kim Jong Un, therefore, is doing is making his big ask. Ironically, very Trumpian. Art of the deal, etc. What you do is you belly up to the bar and you say, well, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Haha, I'm powerful and stuff. Necessarily, the other party responds in kind, if they know what they're doing, according to many of these cultural traditions, and then you have a rapprochement. This is why, under Donald Trump, we had an unmitigated period of success with regards to Korean policy. And it was multi-tiered, by the way. First, Trump goes in, shows respect. After they've disrespected each other, he goes in and shows respect, shakes Kim Jong-un's hand, salutes his generals. That's very important. The Western media, they were oblivious to why you should do that. Steps foot in the DPRK for the first time, and then they plant like the freedom tree and the peace tree or whatever. And it's basically just pomp and circumstance. But it really does matter because you're building a rapprochement. What happened over the next couple of months? Border propaganda broadcasts are almost completely removed. Border stations are destroyed on both sides of the border. Both sides begin working to remove landmines. Both Koreas start working to repatriate human remains. People are allowed to visit their relatives for the first time, sometimes in 2 generations. It was an unmitigated success. And had Trump been reelected, I mean he was, but if he had been allowed to take office, I have a feeling that that peace accord would have continued. Do I expect that this would lead to a reunification of Korea? Probably not. Would it lead to a final end to what technically is still the Korean War, which has been going on since the 50s? No. Would it probably lead to greater rapprochement between the 2 Koreas? Because that's the second part that Trump did. Once he got the ball rolling, he withdrew and said, look, it's your peninsula. It has nothing to do with us. I'm glad that we're, at least frenemies now. But you two need to sort this out, the ROK and the DPRK. And so they began doing that. You'll notice that the second that Joe Biden gets into office, everything began to fall through again. Missile testing and more landmines and all this other bullshit. That's because they knew that they were capable of dealing on an even keel with Trump, and because he stepped back and didn't decide to simply wave around the big stick all of the time, they felt more comfortable with reproaching with the ROK. That's basically all that happened. I have no doubt that he'll have considerable success in a second term, by the way, on this token. I can't believe that Kim Jong Un is actually not going to act in the same basic manner that he did before. It's just he couldn't do that with Biden. Because with Biden, he'll challenge him. He'll say, well, I'm big, strong, nuclear man. What's Biden going to do? He's going to flip his shit. He's going to start sending more weapons into the region, not even talk to the dude. And that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do in that kind of political situation. It's not like negotiating with the Canadians. There, all you have to do is bring a truckload of rakes and they start scattering. It's not the same as dealing with the Australians. You bring them some petrol and some poisonous and invasive species. They'll be very happy about that. In much of the Western world, it's much more formulaic. Nobody worries, for example, about the U.S. leadership alienating the Belgians or alienating Norway or something like that, because they're capable of getting along already. The cultures are more similar. There are places in the world, though, that don't operate on that basis. This was, by the way, the reason why Biden failed so catastrophically in Afghanistan. He didn't understand. I genuinely think that he was oblivious to the fact that in Pashtun culture, if you make an agreement, you keep to the terms of that agreement. The tribal warlords in Afghanistan never would have joined with the Taliban. They would have considered it an affront to respect, to self-respect, and in general, to join with them had the United States simply withdrawn when it said it wanted to withdraw originally under Trump's plan. Biden couldn't handle that, though. He just had to get one last hurrah in and pretend that it was his withdrawal plan so he could take credit for ending the Afghanistan war, which he didn't. This has happened over and over, by the way, under the Biden-Harris administration. Kim Jong Un is simply making a big ask. I've got nukes. I want to get more nukes. Now come and fucking talk to me. Donald Trump would be wise to respond the way he did before and saying, oh, well, we can build more nukes too, and like 100 times more of them, so fuck yourself. And then eventually you get an apologetic letter saying, well, we didn't mean to insult you or anything. We're certainly not threatening you. We would love, warmer relations between our two countries. And then Trump goes in, he shakes his hand again, he has some fucking ramen soup or whatever, and everything goes back to at least seeming calm. And that's what you want for North Korea. I don't know, no North Korean ever fucked with me, so I don't wish them any ill will. If anything, I'd love to visit the country. It's just, I don't really want to get gulagged. I have a feeling that I probably would, given my political views, if I went over there. Lots of cool architecture. Lots of cool nature. Man, it'd be fun to see the plants over in that country. It's got an interesting climate, too. Beautiful country in many ways. But Trump can probably secure, if not lasting peace, at the very least some tentative agreement. The current administration, they'll react to this by doing what they're doing right now in Ukraine, sending long-range missiles or something. The exact opposite of what you need to do to deal with things in that region. That's about all. Peace out.